ready to start. I'm missing some people, but we'll just start anyway. Lydia? Sam? Kasif?
Yeah.
Tila?
Yeah.
Hassan? Not yet. Yanjin? Yes. Arafat? Not yet. Islam? Not yet. Abdi? Yes. Aiden was here. Not yet. Terry is here. Alicia, not here. Hello. Islam. Alright. Let me see. He's not. Where's Arafat?
Maybe he's coming.
Coming? Alright. Okay, we'll just start anyway. You have all your materials ready, so this is week 6. After today, next week, we're going to have a midterm exam. I told you that there's going to be 3 essay questions. So 3 essay questions randomly selected out of the 6 questions that I gave you. And the final one is the definition question for keywords. So the definition questions will be there for sure. And 3 essay questions. So you have to bring all the hard copies of the materials that I've given you so far. No computer access is allowed. So yeah, it's going to be an open book test, so you can use the materials. But I really have to emphasize you can't copy word by word. You have to paraphrase it. Okay? You can have a look at the materials, but don't copy, because it's kind of like a plagiarism if you were to do that. Okay? So you can paraphrase, you can write it down in your own words, but you can have a look at the materials in hard copy. So no access, no computer access, and you can't actually just go out to fetch your hard copies. So no toilet. I was told that I have to be very strict in the exam. So yeah. So that's it. So,
how long will it be, like for 1 hour or 3 hours?
Yeah, you can use the full 3 hours if you want. So today it's going to be on, we're just going to go over a lot of negotiation techniques today. Okay? So introduction. Delia?
Yes. And the success of negotiation strategies and tactics depends heavily on how well they're executed rather than just on the strategies themselves. Like in sport, where execution of the game play plan is crucial. In negotiation, the ability to effectively implement and adapt planned techniques determines the outcome. It's essential to not only choose effective negotiation techniques, but also to be aware of and address hidden assumptions that may hinder progress during negotiation.
Right, so today we're going to go over a lot of different types of negotiation techniques. So it's good to know those techniques so that you can actually evaluate what are the techniques the other party is actually executing on you. So you can be more aware of the tactics that they are employing, and for you to get prepared in advance as well. And also for negotiations, uncovering the hidden assumptions of the partner is very important. So how we can do that, we'll have a look. All right, the first 2 techniques: forbearance and silence. Kasif?
Forbearance and silence. Forbearance is the strategy of exercising patience and restraint, especially when provoked or tempted to react impulsively. This tactic is particularly valuable in high-stress negotiations where emotions can easily take over. By holding back and not immediately responding, you allow yourself time to think strategically and avoid making hasty decisions that could harm your position. This approach is often seen in more experienced negotiators who who understand the value of waiting for the right moment to act.
Yeah.
Then silence.
Mm-hmm.
Silence is a powerful tool in negotiations, often used to create a sense of calm and control. When one party remains silent, it can put pressure on the other to speak,
Mm-hmm.
often leading them to reveal more information than they intended. Silence can be used to show confidence, self-discipline, and strong negotiating position. It's essential to know when to speak and when to stay silent, as speaking too much can undermine your position, while too much silence can create tension or seem uncooperative.
Yeah, it's sort of counterintuitive that silence can be a negotiation tactic, because a lot of cases, if you think about like negotiation, is you say it involves a lot of talking and speaking, so you would actually assume that being silent doesn't really help, but then silent or forbearance is trying to avoid the excessive tension by reserving yourself, so not showing emotion or like just trying to be very calm, although you're very like upset or like emotional inside, is a kind of forbearance. So, like especially when the tensions are very high, hiding your emotion or just being silent or being quiet or changing the tone of voice really helps. It shows that you shows to your partner that you're in control, of the whole scene, and you're not going to be swayed by whatever the partner says to you. And this is very, this is not only for business negotiations, especially with your spouse or like when you get married. This is very important tactic that you can do. My husband employs this a lot to me. So whenever we have an argument, he goes away and he's like being there like for like 10 minutes and he comes back. And suddenly I'm like, we're calm. And then he starts like talking with me. So this is, this is very important. So man, I can't really make a stereotype because there is an emotional man, right? So, but a lot of the cases, women are more emotional, right? So I think knowing this, knowing that this is an important tactic, a negotiation tactic, is good for us to be aware.
But you know much more about negotiations than
Oh,
you
I know a lot more in knowledge, but I think it's very seasoned negotiator, especially with me because he knows a lot about me, about my style. All right, second, surprise and fait accompli. Who's next? Philo.
The surprise tactic involves making unexpected changes in your approach, tone, or strategy during a negotiation.
Right.
This could be a sudden shift in a demands, a change in a negotiation pace, or even a dramatic alteration in how you present yourself, such as lowering your voice during a heated exchange.
Right.
The goal is to disrupt the other party's expectations, making them reconsider their position and potentially giving you an advantage.
Right.
This tactic works well when the other party is becoming too comfortable or confident in their assumptions.
Right.
Fail accompli. Fate accompli. Fate accompli is a strategy where you take action first, presenting the other party with a completed act that they must then respond to.
Right.
This could involve making a bold move, like signing a contract or announcing a decision, and then waiting to see how the other side
Right.
reacts. This tactic can force the other party to accept your terms, or at least negotiate from a position where you have already set the agenda.
Right.
However, it's risky move, as it can backfire if the other party feels concerned or becomes hostile in response.
Right. So surprise. I told you that just being silent is a kind of surprise as well, or changing the tone of voice, or just reacting in a way that the other party hasn't expected as a kind of surprise. So like you don't actually have to accommodate the expectation of the other party in a negotiation. It's very important for you to push your agenda. So, having a surprise during the negotiation actually can break away the whole move, and then it actually changes the whole course of the negotiation. So, this is important. And fait accompli, it's a Latin word, it's a fate. You can think of it as fact. And accompli, what does it remind you of? Any English word? Oh, good! Accomplishment! Good! So, accomplish. So fait accompli means accomplished fact. So you actually act before the other party expects something. You just act upon something like very fast. So it actually surprises the other party that you've done so. So, for example, I told you that KAIST has a negotiation with the UAE government, and they were trying to build a dual campus over there, right? And at that time, my boss, the director of the institute, he actually has 2 negotiations at the same time. So he negotiated with 2 universities to set up the campus. And in order to have a very good agenda set for the main university that the KAIST was thinking of, it actually used the other university as a negotiation tool. So there was a Zayed University, and there was the American University of Sharjah, AUS, and Zayed University was the main university that the KAIST was trying to build a campus on, but then AUS approached the KAIST. So we're just negotiating with the 2 universities, but we signed an MOU with AUS first in order to make a surprise to the Zayed University, because our main goal was to have a favorable deal with the Zayed, but then having the MOU signed first was a very nice surprise for the other party to speed up. Yeah, so having an action done really fast, and in order to surprise the other party is a good negotiation strategy. All right, the third one. Well, who's next? All right.
Appearing desirable versus reversible. Appearing desirable involves pretending to leave the negotiation or signaling that you're no longer interested in reaching a deal.
All right.
The goal is to make the other party feel that they might lose the opportunity to negotiate with you, prompting them to make concession to keep you in
Right.
This tactic requires a mix of forbearance and deception, as you need to convincingly show that you are ready to walk away while still being prepared to continue if the situation improves.
Right.
Reversal is a strategy where you go against the prevailing track or expectations in the negotiation.
Right.
This could involve taking a contrary position to what is expected or acting in a way that seems contrary to it. For example, in financial negotiations, this might mean buying when others are selling or vice versa.
Right.
The idea is to capitalize on the unexpected and catch the other party off guard, creating opportunities that might not have existed otherwise. Timing and understanding the dynamic of power are crucial for this tactic success.
Right. So withdrawal and reversal, they are kinds of surprise tactics as well. So you'll see that a lot of tactics or strategies that are discussed here is actually it actually acts as a surprise to the party that you're negotiating with, right? So a very important principle to remember for negotiation is to go against the expectation of the partner, of the negotiation partner. So apparent withdrawal, of course you want to make you want to make the deal done, and you want to make it as much as possible and as soon as possible. That's your main deal. But actually going reversal is like in the example that I told you about. Our main goal was to make a very good deal done with the Zayed University, but then we actually went against the reversal, So signing the MOU first with the US was our tactic, and then we sent out emails to the Zayed University. Oh, we made an MOU, with the US. So you know, if you don't act upon or if you don't like, you know, speed up, we might just forego the MOU signing with you. I mean, we didn't mean it, but we actually sent the email and then we were sort of silent for like a period of time. It wasn't too long, it was like 2 or 3 weeks, but we just pretended as if we were not interested in you as much, you know. So that's a good, you know, tactic to use, you know. But and also the reversal is like that. I mean, oh, who's this? Oh, they wakes us up. But don't do it again. Not too much. That was a pleasant surprise, but not too much. Alright, so reversal. It's used a lot for like stock exchange or like coin exchange. So a lot of good investors, they go against the general trend or the mood. And when people are panicking, you know, like to sell, you know, they think that the, you know, price is too much, you know, they try to, like, the general public is selling, and then the wise investor, they go against the trend, you know, and then they buy it. And that's how they earn enough money, you know. So, you know, understanding, but this is like very hard to be done than said, in a way. You know, that you have to like, you know, surprise, and then you have to go against the trend, but, you know, it's quite, you know, tough. So it's actually, better for you to get trained and, you know, like use the tactics yourself, you know, to execute it, you know, than just, you know, knowing about the different tactics. All right, probing and setting limits. Who's next? All right. Hmm. Hmm. Subtlety. Right. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, so probing. It's a very good technique that you can, I mean, it's not a technique, but it's more like an attitude. You know, when you're making a conversation with you know, even with your friends or like, you know, your spouses or like girlfriend, boyfriend, and like with a lot of different people, like probing questions are very important. What do you mean by probing?
Like
What do you think?
giving them spontaneous questions, like
Yeah.
to keep the conversation.
Uh-huh,
Like,
yeah.
to start the conversation and to make like to make it feel like we are interested in the conversation. Between
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so having that gesture to show interest and also just making like very like general questions. You know, you don't actually reveal your like true intention, like your specific intention, but you're making very sort of unspecific questions to the other person so that, you know, you get to know about the other like in an indirect way. That's what it means by probing. And probing questions help a lot. So, because a lot of the times, if you just like ask really specific questions, that might threaten, you know, the your friend or like the other party. So, like asking a lot of different questions, and then you combine the insights from different questions as to build insight about the other party. So that's what it means by probing. So when, for my own case, when the delegates from the AUS, the American University of Sharjah, came, so there were delegates from the AUS coming to visit KAIST in Daejeon. So we had a one-day sort of trip to different places in Daejeon, and I accompanied them. And I'm very good at making conversation, so I threw a lot of different questions. So I got to know about the president's family, that he has a son who's a violinist, and he's got married to a Korean American girl, and they're living in Spain, and all this kind of stuff. But asking about his family was not my main motivation. So by asking all these different questions, I sort of hit my real question inside. So he got sort of confused. So he had an impression that I'm genuinely interested in his family, right? And he's sort of a personal background. But from a lot of probing questions, I got to know that the real decision maker is not he, because he's American. And in a lot of Middle Eastern cultures, they actually have American professors or American people as not puppets, but symbolic figures. So although he has that title, president, but actually it's the directors who have a second rank positions, titles. They are the real decision makers because they actually have the real link with the government. So I got to know about this very important fact by asking a lot of different probing questions. So this is very important. So not only establishing a personal relationship, but by asking a lot of different questions, and you got the hint about the real issue that you are interested in. So this is what it means by probing. And also setting limits. I think we're gonna learn about this in more detail later, but I want you to know about this concept, which is called ZOPA. Okay, so I told you that BETNA is a very important concept that you have to memorize, and ZOPA is related with BETNA. So ZOPA, it's zone of possible agreements. So in our previous example of us visiting or traveling in where were we traveling before? India? So we were traveling in India and we were trying to buy a very nice carpet, right? So in the previous example, we went into this very nice shop with lots of very good carpets, and we found this very nice carpet that we wanted to buy. But before the shop, we visited another shop and they offered a similar sort of quality carpet with a price of $2,000, right? So this would be our BETNA, right? So this is me, buyer. And there's a buyer side and there's a seller side as well, right? The not the owner but the shopkeeper of the carpet shop, from his a lot of his experiences, he knows that with this carpet he can get how much? Maybe $4,000. I mean, this doesn't this price isn't confined to only one person because he deals with a lot of different people to visit visitors. So, but then on average, he knows that he can get paid $4,000 for this carpet. So that's gonna be the seller's BETNA, right? So we have a seller and buyer in the shop, right? So zone of possible agreement, ZOPA, is the range between the buyer's BETNA and the seller's BETNA. Does that make sense?
Like it's in the middle.
Yeah, not middle, it's a range, zone. Yeah. So setting limits is related with a lot of cases. I think when we had a negotiation, Hassan did the bet, right? He had a bet now, so he persuaded the other party with his bet now. So I think the negotiation finished really fast, right? So from that case as well, we know that having a bet now is very, very important technique or a tool that you can have in finishing the deal very fast as well as having a very good deal. And zone of possible agreement, ZOPA, is basically the limits that each party has. So, when you set the limits, you have to have a BETNA, and afterwards you can actually have the range or the limitation, of your negotiation, and that helps you to facilitate the negotiation. All right, so that's what makes sense. ZOPA is another very important concept, and we're gonna do this. We're gonna use this concept for our role play today. For our role play today, it's gonna be very professional. It's gonna be different from the personal negotiations that we've had so far. It's a company-to-company negotiation, and we're gonna use this concept for our role play. All right, next. Who's next? All right.
Painting and association.
Mm-hmm.
Painting is the act of creating a diversion to draw the other party's attention away from your main objects.
Right.
This could involve focusing on a less important issue to direct from your real goals or making a statement that misleads the other party about your intention.
Right.
Painting is a form of strategic misdirection
Mhm.
where you guide the other party to focus on something that isn't central to your strategy, allowing you to maneuver
Mm-hmm.
more effectively on the issue that matter most.
Right.
Association. Association is a tactic where you link your position or proposal with something or someone that the other party respect or values.
Mm-hmm.
This could involve referencing a well-known figure, organization, or precedent that supports your argument.
Right.
By associating your position with something favorable,
Mm-hmm.
you increase its credibility
Mm-hmm.
and make it more persuasive.
Right.
This tactic is commonly used in advertising and
Mhm.
marketing, but is equally effective in negotiation,
Mhm.
where credibility and trust are crucial.
Right. So fainting is a different word for deceiving. You try to make a false impression. But it's not really false. You just try to hide your real intention. So again, making a surprise and then like hiding your real intention is very important for negotiation. Because if you disclose too much information, that's like giving the piece of very important information for yourself. So there's a increased possibility that you get a worse deal done, right? So this is very important. So I wasn't trying to fake myself. I wasn't like trying to deceive myself. But then, in order to know the power dynamic among the negotiators that we are dealing with, I threw a lot of different questions. So as a result of those questions and as a result of painting my real motive, I could see, who has the real decision-making power and who doesn't have, right? So this is very important. And association is another very commonly used tactic that you have for negotiation. So, and this really helps when you want to get to a key person. Say, I'm telling you too much about the Keist case, but I think the major negotiations skills I've learned, so that's why I'm using a lot of Keist examples. But so even for Keist to set up a campus in UAE, they've actually established a campus in New York. But in order to get access to the people in New York, they actually contacted a person in UK, and then the UK person was from the royal family of the UK, and then he introduced a lot of people in New York. So they actually didn't my boss didn't directly contact the people in New York because they would actually say, oh, who are you, But because he contacted the other very prominent person in UK, and he introduced my boss to the key people in New York, then they could have a serious negotiation. So association is a very good way for you to get contacts with the key people, all right? So that's why network is so important. And like in establishing network, what do you think is the more important? Like weak network or strong network? Strong network means like few people, but like very like sort of in-depth level. And weak network is like a lot of people, but it's more like you don't actually have like deep relation. It's more like you sort of know their names and where they're from and like what kind of work they are doing. But like from the association perspective, what do you think is the more effective, like weak network or the strong network? Weak network. Yeah, they conducted the research, and a lot of the cases, people who don't really know you that well, they are the people who introduce you to the other people. So having an extensive network on a sort of not too much like deep level, but like you know about them, like their sort of basic information, and they know that you're existing and kind of work that you're doing. That's more effective for you to get to know and get the context. All right. Even like for your career aspect, a lot of the cases people actually introduce you to new jobs or new position, but those people are not your close like relatives or like close friends. They are more like a distant sort of friends or relatives who actually get to introduce you to these opportunities. So like don't think of network as having a very strong bond or like like having a very close sort of neat community. I mean, it helps you to grow as a person, but career-wise, negotiation-wise, having a weak network also is very helpful. All right, next. Who's next? All right, Hassan.
Disassociation is the opposite of association.
Mm-hmm.
It involves distancing yourself from something negative or undesirable. This could happen to a company under investigation, a failed strategy, or an unpopular opinion. By disassociating yourself from these negatives, you protect your position and prevent the other party from using them against you.
Right.
In negotiations, this tactic is often used to reassure the other party that you're not aligned with unfavorable elements that might harm the negotiating process.
Right.
Crossroads is a tactic where you introduce multiple issues or paths into the negotiation simultaneously. The idea is to create a complex scenario where the other party is forced to focus on one issue while potentially considering on others.
Right.
This tactic can overwhelm the other party with choices and lead them to make concessions they might not have otherwise considered. It's a way of steering the negotiation in your favor by using the complexity to your advantage.
Right. So association and dissociation, this is the opposite, right? So dissociation is basically the opposite. You basically cut down the ties or the relationship that you're having with another party or the company or a friend or a person, because you don't want the negative reputation affecting you. And crossroads, last class, I think I've told you about different agendas that we can set in the negotiation. So in that class, so the more issues that you can set in the negotiation agenda, it's more beneficial, for the outcome of the negotiation. So the more issues that you can have on your table in negotiation, the better results or the better outcomes that you can have. So the tactic, the crossroads is related with this. So the more issues that you can put on the negotiation table, you can have a better negotiation outcome. Okay? Okay, I think, oh, this is like after lunch, so all very drowsy. Wake up! Oh, I can see the drowsy eyes. Okay? Oh, alright, so who's next? Cherry.
Blanket and randomizing. Blanket. The blanket technique involves presenting a wide range of issues, requests, or demands all at once. The goal is to cover a broad area, increasing the chances that some of your points will be accepted or resolved in your favor. This approach can be overwhelming for the other party as they may struggle to address every point, leading to concession on some of them.
Right.
Is a scattergun approach where you aim to succeed by addressing many issues rather than focusing narrowly on one or two.
Right.
Randomizing. Randomizing involves using a sample or example to represent the whole with the assumption that what is true of the sample is true of the entire set. This tactic is often used in sales where a seller might offer a high quality sample of a product to convince the buyer of its overall quality. In negotiations, randomizing can help create a positive impression, but it also involves some risk, as the full product or service might not live up to the sample standard.
Right, so blanket. What do you mean by blanket?
Something to cover up.
Yeah, so blanket is like you use the blanket to warm yourself during the winter time, right? So the blanket I think it was on the test, right? I think I inserted the blanket technique. All right. So blanket involves, I told you that the more issues that you can set on the table, the better results that you can have out of the negotiation deal. And blanket is basically sort of arranging as many issues as possible so that you actually get too much. You give too much to decide to the other party, so that the other party gets confused, and you actually, as a result of it, you get the better deal. And this is used a lot in like negotiating for a contract. Just one contract has a lot of deals to discuss. So just to make a signed contract done, it takes like more than I don't know. Sometimes it just takes a year, and it takes several months. And and blanket strategy, you actually get to discuss about like different issues at the same time. So you actually have the most important deal done at the end, and then have the less important deals done first and make an agreement first, and then you go into the most important deal or the issue later. And randomizing, it happens a lot in supermarket. When I don't know whether have you ever been to the Korean supermarket, like big ones? Yeah, when you go there, they actually give you lots of samples.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like a randomizing example. Like for products, manufacturing products, the randomizing effect isn't as much, but then with natural products like apples or with the fresh sort of products, even though the apple or the pineapple that you taste, is very good, it might be the case that the apples or the pineapples that you buy isn't as good, right? So the random selection is like you randomly select one sample out of the whole population, but then it doesn't guarantee that one random sample is the same quality as all the products in the population, right? So randomizing is basically, giving an example or giving a small sample to the other party to taste or to test. But then, you actually give the best one so that, the other party has the impression that, oh, this is going to be as good. But then it might not be the case. All right. Okay, salami was on the definition test as well. All right, so bracketing and salami. Who's next? Okay.
Bracketing and salami. Bracketing. Bracketing is a technique where you establish the upper and lower limits of your negotiation range. This helps you focus on a specific area where you believe an agreement is most likely to be reached. By
Right.
setting these brackets, you can concentrate your efforts on the most promising part of the negotiation and avoid wasting time on extremes that are unlikely to be accepted.
Right.
This tactic is
Right.
By accepting one slice at a time, you can gradually build up to a favorable overall agreement. This approach is particularly effective in complex negotiations with many elements such as construction, contracts, or large-scale projects. It allows you to secure small victories that add up to a successful negotiation.
Right. So what do you mean by bracket? What is bracket? Yeah, this is bracket, right? So bracketing is similar to setting limits. You know, I explained about the ZOPA, right? Zone of possible agreements. So bracketing is like, but then bracketing is actually narrower than the zone of agreement, zone of possible agreement, because bracketing is more like a reasonable range that you can think of. So the ZOPA was like, it's based on the betna of you and then the other party. But then bracketing is more like, okay, if this is the case, then you know I would actually actively engage with the other party. So it's more from your own perspective, bracketing. So you actually have a range of possible agreements that you can think of in the most ideal case, and you try to enter into negotiation out of the assumption, based on the assumption that you have. Okay? Have you ever eaten salami? Who has eaten salami? No salami yet? Really? You had salami?
What is it?
Salami? What is salami?
Salami means differently in our language.
Fermented.
It's like a sausage.
Yeah, sausage, Italian sausage. I think we have salami even in Korea. Alicia, you have salami, right?
I think I probably ate, but I think it was on the pizza. I think.
Yeah. It's similar to pepperoni. Yeah, but then pepperoni is like spicier, right? Salami is like, it has a lot of fat. Yeah, so a lot of Europeans have salami in their sandwiches. So salami, why do they call it this technique salami? Do you actually have the whole salami, like sausage, Frankfurt sausage? No, you actually like slice the whole salami into like many different like pieces, because it has so much fat. So if you have the whole salami, then it's easy. So you have a very small pieces of salami, and then you put like maybe 3 or 4 salamis into the sandwiches, and you have a very nice sandwich. Yeah, so salami is basically you arrange like different issues in order, and you cut down like issues in pieces like that you can handle, and you actually get to discuss about like each topic side by side or like in order. So say you are making a negotiation with a contract of establishing a campus in UA, and you have many different aspects that you have to consider of, and the most important thing will be on finance, right? Finance, you know, how much investments that will be made by the government, and also the areas where the campus will be established, and like who will be the faculty, and what kind of students will accept as students, and also like construction facilities. Yeah, so there are like tons of different issues that you have to think of in negotiating, but then you actually like get to like have like different issues on the table, and you like cut them into like different pieces, like you cut the pieces of the salami, and you get to discuss about the finance first, because unless you have money, you won't be able to have all these other stuff. So you get to discuss about the finance first, and then you go, and once the finance deal is made, you make a nice agreement, and you go into the other step. So that's what it means by salami technique. I think it's in the exam as well. Yeah, I think so, right? Alright, so quick clause and agent of limited authority. Who's next? Alright. Mm-hmm.
Resolution is urgently needed. It involves proposing a compromise or middle ground solutions to quickly finalize the deal.
Right.
Phrases like let's split the difference or we're willing to meet you halfway are typical of this approach. The quick close is effective when both parties are ready to reach an agreement and are looking for a way to conclude the negotiations without further delay.
Right.
Agent of limited authority. Using an agent of limited authority involves sending someone with restricted decision-making power to
Mhm.
negotiate on your behalf. This agent can claim that they need to consult with their principal before making any commitments, buying you time and allowing you to gather more information.
Right.
This tactic is useful in complex negotiations where you want to avoid making premature concessions or need time to think through the implications of the other party's proposals.
Right. So quick clause happens a lot in the negotiation when you want to like finish the deal as soon as possible, but then there's a caveat. So if you want to make a quick clause as quick as possible, and a lot of the cases your initial offering matters. So we're gonna do this during the role play. So say we talked about the ZOPA, but when today we're gonna do the M&A deal. So I told you that it's gonna be tough, but like let's do the simple case. When we were going to the carpet shop in India, say you offer to you make an initial offer as like $1,000, and then the shopkeeper is shocked and like he's like, no. Normally, like we sell it like $10,000, you know. So your initial offer was $1,000. His initial offer was $10,000. And if you actually have as quick clause as possible, you want to finish the deal as much as possible, then oftentimes the final deal is made halfway. So what's the halfway? 5,000? Is it 5,000? No, 550, isn't it? Right? It's 5,000 and 5,000. $5,500, right? So it's the halfway normally. I mean, if you have to like make a quick closer, right? So what does this example signify? What does this example mean for the initial deal? What does it say for setting the initial deal? Because normally the price is set on the halfway. Yeah, so you have to have as best initial deal as possible. So setting the initial deal is very important. Because a lot of cases, if you want to speed up the negotiation, it's normally the halfway. So what if the shopkeeper had the initial deal of 7,000? Then the halfway would be 4,000, right? So it's drastically different. So the speed of the negotiation and then the initial deal, they're closely linked with. So making an initial offer is like halfway done for the winning the negotiations. So it's very, very important. Okay? An agent of limited authority. I told you that I looked into the process of buying an apartment in Korea through the auction. And if you were to buy the apartment through the real estate agent, you don't need this kind of technique. But if you were to buy an apartment in Korea through an auction, then you actually have to negotiate a very heavy negotiation with the present tenant who's going to be ousted, after you acquire the apartment. And a lot of cases, if you pretend as if you're being sent by the real owner or the real auctioneer who wants to buy, and you're just being an agent, and then you go there as a representative or an agent of the real buyer. then it helps you to negotiate the deal. Because a lot of the cases, the tenant will make lots of complaints, like the tenant will will say about, what happened and, like was so traumatic and this is so difficult, and you're just listening. But at the end, you will just say, oh, that's okay, I understand, so I'll tell, the buyer, of your situation, and, I'll try to have as best deal as possible, and this kind of, and pretending as if you have a limited authority actually helps, to lessen the tension and actually get the better deal. So this technique is used a lot, and sometimes even though you have a real authority, you pretend as if you only have a limited authority, and that helps you to get to know about the other person and also get the deal done as fast. All right. So, but there's a word. So all these different techniques that we can use and execute to win the deal, but there are always words of caution. Islam?
Words of caution, adaptation to personality and style. It's important to select negotiation strategies that align with your personality and style. Using a tactic that feels awkward or unnatural can undermine your credibility and effectiveness.
Right.
The best negotiator choose the strategies that they can execute confidently and persuasively, ensuring that their approach is consistent with their communication style and demeanor. Dangers of hidden assumption. Hidden assumption can be a significant obstacle in negotiations, as they may lead you to adopt strategies or tactics that are not appropriate for the situation. It's essential to identify and challenge these assumptions before and during the negotiation process.
Right.
By doing so, you can ensure that your strategies are based on accurate information and are more likely to succeed.
Right.
Hidden assumptions often prevent negotiators from seeing the full picture, leading to missed opportunities or flawed decisions.
Right. So although we have so many different tactics, actually, in choosing which tactic you want to have depends on your personality and styles. I think we discussed it during our strategy time. So there were like different strategies. If you put more emphasis on the relationship, then you actually go for like collaborative strategy. Whereas if you put a lot of emphasis on like outcomes, you go for like competitive strategy, right? But even choosing like which kind of strategy you will employ depends on like your ethics or your like, I don't know, like style and your preference. And this is the same. If you don't feel comfortable in, say, employing the limited authority, I don't want to lie, or like if you aren't very good at like deceiving, you're not like fainting, you actually are not very good at acting, so even though, you can say, like different stuff, but then your facial, expressions or your gestures, actually show your real motives, then it's a failure. So you have to analyze, and you have to like know details about your own personality and style before choosing which kind of techniques you will actually use for your negotiation. Yeah, and then also because negotiation is basically human relationship. So a lot of the cases, it's about uncovering the real motives and real assumptions, of the other company or other person. So I don't know, like in other cultures, but in Korea, when mothers say no, it actually doesn't say no. A lot of cases, like women or mothers, so today is my mom's birthday, for real. Like this is my mom's birthday today. So I asked her, can I, because we had a birthday party on Sunday, a very nice restaurant, and I gave her like 2 gifts. So I told her, so I asked her, Mom, I gave you like gifts, and like my husband went out for the restaurant, so I think it's done. So I don't have to give you like 용돈, like money for your birthday this year, because we did enough, right? So I was probing, and she said, oh yeah, so this is enough. I was so happy, when you guys brought me to the restaurant, and I was so happy with the gifts. But somehow I could see the reality behind it. She wanted to have additional money. So what did I do today? So on the way to Jeonju, I sent her the money. And she sent me so much hearts in the Kakao chat. This is one tiny example of uncovering the hidden emotion or assumption. Oh well, this is not a joke. So negotiation, happens in business deals or in a personal relationship. But a lot of cases, you have to by doing a lot of analysis, you analyze the gestures and facial expressions, all this kind of stuff. You actually get to know the real hearts or the real motivations, real assumptions of the other party. So that's the caveat of negotiation. So yeah, so is there, what do you mean by impasse? Impasse in negotiation? Impasse. How to overcome an impasse? No? Any guess? How to overcome an impasse? Pass. What do you mean by pass? Pass. Pass. Pass.
Crossing.
Yeah. Pass is is deal done. So impasse is yes, there's a halt. There's a stop. There's a mood that it's gonna end in bad situation. So how can we break that mood? How can we overcome that impasse? So these are some of the strategies. Okay, and these strategies or techniques are very useful with your life. So it's important to know how to do that. Who's next? Alicia? All right.
Take a break.
Mhm.
Negotiation hidden in the past. Taking a break can provide a valuable opportunity to retrospect. This pros allow both parties to cool down,
Mhm.
reflect on the progress made, and intentionally generate fresh ideas.
Right.
If you're part of a team, use this time to brainstorm with your colleagues.
Mm.
Even if you're negotiating alone, stepping away from the table can help clear your mind and reduce negative thinking, which can be contagious
Mhm.
and detrimental to creative problem solving.
Right.
Recap what occurred.
Mhm.
Reviewing the progress made so far can help both parties see the value in continuing negotiations.
Right.
Discussing what has been agreed upon, as well as
Identifying.
identifying
Mhm.
the exact points of disagreements can help clarify the situation and highlight common interests.
Right.
Often, a recap will reveal that the parties have made more progress than they
Initially.
realized, which can
Reignite.
motivation to find a resolution.
Right.
Decide what will be lost, but mutually considering the potential losses if the negotiations fail. Both parties can refocus on the importance of reaching an agreement.
Right.
Visualizing the negative outcomes of a breakdown in negotiation can sometimes prompt a renewed commitment to finding a solution.
Right.
The tactic can be particularly effective when one party highlights the downsides of failure, which can spur the other party to think more positively and proactively.
Right. So taking a break happens a lot when important final decision should be made. So this actually happens a lot in international negotiation, between different countries. So say if you have to finalize the price of a beef to be imported from the U.S. to Korea. It's a very important deal. Or say, in Uruguay round, there was an important multinational negotiation on the price of the rice. And that was called Uruguay round. And then that actually determines the price of rice to be imported and exported to different countries. So it's a very important price, or the price index that should be made. So before making a final decision, it always helps to have a break. So guys, this is very important. So when you have to make an important decision with anybody else, you have to have a break, only for 5 minutes. So say, what would be the scenario? What could be like a personal example? Oh, say you get a proposal for marriage. What would you have to do? Take a break. 5 minutes break. See, this is so important. So taking a break before making a final decision, and also recap. What do you mean by recap? I always recap. Right, exactly. Summarizing important points. So like in my classes in the ethics, I always recap the most important points from the last class or like this class, and recapping helps. So like, summarizing what kind of deals that have been agreed upon, and also there's an important point. You actually recap what would be lost if the final decision is not made. Because actually that's gonna help you visualize the negative impacts of the negotiation failures. And it actually helps you, or like it actually spurs you to make an agreement together. So during the break time, what do you have to do? You recap with your colleagues, with your teammates, what important progress has been made or agreed upon. And you also, during the break time, you have a casual conversation with the other party, and then during the conversation, you can just say, oh, okay, if this negotiation fails and I return to my country or to my family, then, it's going to be disaster. So you can, have this conversation and making them visualize what would happen, and this is going to actually consolidate, for you to make an agreement. So important to remember. And this can be applied to real life. Guys, this is, you will actually realize later in your life, oh, okay, Professor Sun's comments were very important, but I was so sleepy at the time. So I forgot most of the stuff, but I should have studied harder. Okay, the second, how to overcome an impasse. Who's next? Okay.
Express how you feel. Sharing your feelings of frustration or concern can humanize the negotiation process and make you more relatable to the other party. When both sides acknowledge their shared emotions,
Right.
it can create a sense of
Camaraderie.
and mutual understanding.
Mhm.
Expressing your feelings openly can also pave the way for a collaborative effort to overcome the impasse. Change the subject. Shifting the focus to a different issue can help diffuse tension and prevent both parties from becoming stuck on a single contentious point. This strategy doesn't mean abandoning the unresolved issue, but rather setting it aside temporarily to allow for a cooling off period.
Right.
Addressing other topics can lead to a progress in different areas, which might create momentum that helps in resolving the original issue later.
Right.
And secure an agreement in principle. Reaching an agreement on fundamental goals or mutual objectives, even if they are broad or basic, can help maintain momentum in the negotiation.
Right.
These agreements in principle can serve as a foundation for more detailed discussions and remind both parties of their shared reasons for negotiating.
Yeah.
Simple commitments such as agreeing not to walk away or to limit the duration of the negotiation can keep the process moving forward.
Right. So the empathy part is very important because basically negotiation is a kind of establishing a good relationship. So during the break time, 5 minutes break time, you can basically relate with the other party emotionally. You can sort of say, if I have to return with nothing in my hand, my boss would be so angry, like I might have to lose my job, or like just having this conversation and expressing your emotion really helps. And also changing the subject helps. So in this negotiation, like setting up the dual campus in the UAE, it involves a lot of finance, very expensive project. So we were like, like just sending emails back and forth, a lot of tough, conversations. But now after some time, we got a bit tired. So what did we do? Okay, let's focus on something that doesn't involve as much money. So the idea was, okay, let's have a faculty and student exchange first. So there was a Zayed University and there's KAIST. So why don't we, exchange our students and our faculty first, and as a result of it, we can, have a collaboration project done, and as a result of it, we can expand it to establish a dual campus. So when you're setting an agenda, I think it's important for us to realize that the initial agenda can be changed, and that matters because it can actually yield to a better deal, and being creative during the negotiation is very important because you can actually get something which is unexpected, but actually it's very good, like student exchange, faculty exchange, like establishing a long-term relationship. From that aspect, is very good. All right, the third one, how to overcome an impasse. Who's next? Kasi? Try bridge issue agreements. Three.
How to overcome an impasse. Try bridge issue agreement. Focusing on less critical, easily agreed upon issues can help break the deadlock in more contentious areas.
Yeah.
By resolving minor issues first, both parties can build a sense of accomplishment and reduce defensiveness, making it easier to tackle the more challenging topics.
Right.
This approach is often used in labor disputes or other complex negotiations where multiple issues are on the table.
Right.
Discuss remaining alternatives. Redirecting the conversation to explore remaining alternatives can shift the negotiations for a negative focus to more positive, solution-oriented approach.
Right.
Even if the initial response is that there are no alternatives, creative thinking can often uncover new possibilities. Emphasizing that there are always other alternatives can keep the dialogue open and prevent the negotiation from staying complete. Make an important disclosure. Sharing valuable information or making a strategic disclosure
Right.
can act as a peace offering, breaking through the impasse and encouraging the other party to reciprocate. However, it's important to disclose information incrementally, allowing the other party to work for the details.
Right.
This approach not only builds trust, but also keeps the other party engaged in the negotiation.
Right. This is a very important sort of principle to remember in negotiation. There are always other alternatives. You always have to think, being creative. You have to be creative. Like don't be tied down by the agendas already set. You can always create new alternatives. Although they're not on the agenda initially set, you can always offer new alternatives. So from here as well, we didn't expect that we would have exchange, but through the conversation, we just came up with new alternatives. So having this mindset is really important because always, if you have this mindset that there can be always new alternatives, there can be always new stuff or new deals that can be made. If you have this mindset, although you might have a failed sort of negotiation within this deal, you can actually have a better outcomes later. So having this mindset is very important. And also bridge issue agreements is lesser deal, less important deals that can be made as quicker. So focusing on those deals first, and then progressing into more difficult deal that can help you to have a better sort of result out of the negotiation. All right, I think this is the last one, right? Okay. How to overcome an impasse, the last one, all right, Kilo.
Ask
Hypothetical.
hypothetical question. Posing what if question can help both parties see the bigger picture and consider new possibilities. Careful wondering is crucial to avoid misunderstandings and unintended offense. A well-crafted hypothetical can expand the range of discussion and open a new avenues
Right.
for a new resolution, helping to break the deadlock.
Yeah.
Ask for an offer or
Mhm.
offer empathy. Demonstrating empathy by acknowledging the other party's constraints or frustrations can create a goodwill and
Mhm.
so often the negotiation atmosphere. Expressing empathy can also encourage the other party to
Reciprocate.
reciprocate, potentially leading to more constructive and collaborative discussion. However, it's important to balance empathy with firmness to avoid being perceived as a weak. Use a quick clause
Mhm.
when an impasse seems intractable.
Mhm.
A quick clause can provide a way to break the settlement.
Stalemate.
This approach involves making a straightforward compromise offer, such as let's split the difference.
Mhm.
Timing is a key. Both parties should be ready for resolution, and there should be a sense of urgency to move forward. The quick clause can either bring the negotiation to successful conclusion
Right.
or prompt further discussion, but it almost always breaks the deadlock.
Right. So use a quick clause is a common tactic that you use, and always, I think it's important to set a deadline for every single kind of conversation that you have. So like say you have a negotiation today, and for you to have a hypothetical deadline set for yourself, and also you ask the other party, okay, let's set a deadline to finish this deal, you know? So having the deal actually facilitates you to make a quick closure or the quick decision making done. And empathy, I think this is related with the last part. So you know, having that sort of emotional side or the empathetic relationship made helps you to facilitate or improve the personal relationship that you have with the other party. So they actually, even though the negotiation might fail, you can still have the relationship. You know, so out of the negotiation that you're having, you know, although the negotiation outcome is not as desirable, but you still have you still have the relationship alive, and you can actually get some help out of the relationship. You know, that's been newly made out of the negotiation. And asking a hypothetical question. Do you guys ever like ask a hypothetical question to your friends or like to people?
Like what?
What if you have to, you know, before I told you, what if I have to go back home without any deal made? You know, you ask this kind of question, hypothetical question. What if I lose my job, you know, out of this deal, you know? So asking a lot of what if questions, you know, it's not like you're not forcing the other party to answer. What if questions is like a probing question. It's a very good example of a probing question. You're like, oh, what if I have to do this? What if, you know? So by doing this, you can sort of lessen the tension, and you can actually bring out the empathy from the other party. Okay, so this is about avoiding hidden assumptions. So assumption, uncovering or getting to know the real assumptions of the person that you're negotiating or the company. This is very important. Okay, so how to avoid hidden assumptions. Who's next? Who's next? All right. Okay. Can you read? Mm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. So we ask like hypothetical questions, like what if questions, like a lot of probing questions in order to see the assumptions that the other party has, right? So in negotiation, like a lot of cases you actually hide your true motive or the true assumptions. So like asking and through the active listening and like probing questions, you have to see how you can get to know the real assumptions. All right, so danger of his. Okay. All right, so we've covered different techniques and we've covered, like techniques to overcome an impasse. And also we've covered, how we can uncover the real assumptions of the other party. And also the where's the ZOPA? I erased it. Okay, ZOPA and the BETNA and like all these kind of concepts. So using this, we'll do the role play, which involves M&A. So today's role play is professional. So let's take a break, and then we're gonna do the role play.